June 14, 1989. Highgrove House, 8:47 p.m. The sound of shattering crystal echoed through the drawing room as Princess Diana hurled a champagne flute against the wall, her face contorted with 8 years of suppressed rage. Standing across from her, Camilla Parker Bowles recoiled in shock, her perfectly composed mask finally slipping to reveal the calculating woman beneath. What had started as a civilized conversation about Charles's happiness had erupted into the most vicious confrontation in royal history, a physical catfight between two women fighting for the same man's heart. But when Diana's hand connected with Camilla's cheek in a slap that echoed through the centuries-old manor, she wasn't just striking her rival, she was declaring war on the woman who had destroyed her marriage and stolen her husband's love. But the most shocking part wasn't the violence itself. It was discovering what Camilla had said that finally pushed Diana beyond her breaking point. The setup. June 1989. The invitation that changed everything. The confrontation between Diana and Camilla didn't happen by accident. It was the result of a carefully orchestrated plan by Camilla to finally establish her dominance over Charles's affections once and for all. By 1989, Charles's affair with Camilla had become an open secret within royal circles, while Diana continued to play the dutiful wife in public. Privately, she was being systematically humiliated by Charles's obvious preference for his mistress. The breaking point came when Camilla made an unprecedented move. She invited Diana to Highgrove for a private conversation about their shared situation. The invitation was delivered through Charles, who presented it as an opportunity for the two most important women in his life to reach some kind of understanding. Camilla feels it would be beneficial for all involved if you two could speak openly, Charles had told Diana with his typical emotional detachment. She's prepared to make certain accommodations regarding our arrangement. Diana knew it was a trap, but she was curious to hear what Camilla had the audacity to propose. More than that, she was desperate to finally confront the woman who had been haunting her marriage since her honeymoon. "Fine," Diana replied with steel in her voice. "I'll meet with your mistress. But Charles, whatever she says to me, whatever happens in that room, remember that you chose this confrontation. Don't miss this shocking revelation." What Camilla proposed to Diana. The devastating proposal. June 14, 1989, 8:15 p.m. Camilla's ultimatum. When Diana arrived at Highgrove that evening, she expected hostility, jealousy, perhaps even an argument. What she found was something far worse: Camilla's calm, calculated attempt to formalize Diana's humiliation. Camilla greeted Diana in the drawing room with the kind of forced politeness that barely concealed her contempt. She had clearly prepared for this moment, arranging the furniture to give herself the power position, and choosing her outfit to emphasize her maturity and sophistication compared to Diana's relative youth. "Diana, thank you for coming," Camilla said with false warmth. "I think it's time we addressed the elephant in the room." "You mean your affair with my husband?" Diana replied, refusing to play games. "I mean our shared attachment to Charles, and the need to find a civilized arrangement that serves everyone's interests." Camilla then laid out what she claimed was a reasonable solution to their triangle. "Charles and I have been together for 15 years. Camilla began with matter-of-fact coldness. "Our connection is deep, mature, and based on genuine compatibility. Your marriage to Charles serves important institutional purposes. You've provided heirs, you're excellent with the public, and you fulfill the ceremonial requirements of a royal wife." Diana felt her blood pressure rising as Camilla continued. "What I'm proposing is that we acknowledge reality and stop pretending otherwise. Charles needs both of us for different reasons. You for his public life, me for his private happiness. There's no reason we can't coexist peacefully within this arrangement." The audacity of Camilla's proposal left Diana momentarily speechless. This woman was calmly suggesting that Diana accept a permanent ménage à trois, where she would be relegated to the role of Charles's public wife, while Camilla enjoyed his love and devotion. "You're asking me to officially accept being the other woman in my own marriage," Diana said, her voice dangerously quiet. "I'm asking you to accept what already exists," Camilla replied. "Charles will never choose between us because he doesn't have to. You can either fight this reality and make yourself miserable, or accept it and find some peace. You won't believe what Camilla said next. The final insult. Camilla's proposal was insulting enough, but her next words pushed Diana into a fury that years of royal training couldn't contain. "Diana, you need to understand something," Camilla continued with condescending patience. "Charles married you because he had to marry someone suitable. Young, pretty, virginal, good breeding. You checked all the boxes for a royal bride. But love, real love, isn't something that can be arranged or commanded. Charles and I love each other. What you have with him is duty, obligation, the performance of married life. What we have is genuine passion and connection." Diana's hands began shaking with rage, but Camilla wasn't finished. "The sooner you accept that Charles will never love you the way he loves me, the sooner you can find some happiness in the role you were actually chosen for, being the mother of future kings and the public face of his reign. You think I should be grateful to be Charles's broodmare while you get his heart?" Diana's voice rose to dangerous levels. "I think you should be realistic about what you signed up for," Camilla replied coldly. "Royal marriages aren't about romance, Diana. They're about duty. The fact that you expected love shows how naive you really are." That's when Camilla delivered the blow that would trigger the most violent royal confrontation in modern history. "Besides, even if Charles didn't love me, he could never truly love you. You're too young, too emotional, too unstable. You lack the sophistication and depth that a man of Charles's complexity requires. I'm his intellectual and emotional equal. You're just a pretty girl who happened to be available when he needed a wife." The words hit Diana like physical blows. Every insecurity she had ever felt about her education, her age, her worthiness to be Charles's partner, was being weaponized against her by the woman who had stolen her husband. Don't miss this explosive moment when Diana finally snapped. The explosion. Diana's response to Camilla's devastating psychological attack was swift, violent, and completely uncontrolled. "How dare you?" Diana whispered, her voice shaking with 8 years of suppressed rage. "How dare you sit in my husband's house and tell me I'm not worthy of love? I'm simply being honest about it." "Honest?" Diana's scream echoed through Highgrove House. "You want honesty? Here's honesty. You're a pathetic woman who spent 15 years settling for being a married man's mistress because you're too weak and worthless to find love on your own." Camilla's composed mask finally slipped, revealing the vicious woman beneath. "At least I'm not so desperate for attention that I starve myself and make scenes in public like some unstable teenager." The reference to Diana's eating disorder was the final straw. Without conscious thought, Diana grabbed a crystal champagne flute from the nearby table and hurled it at the wall beside Camilla's head, where it exploded into glittering fragments. "You destroyed my marriage," Diana screamed, advancing on Camilla with fury that terrified even herself. "You poisoned my husband against me before I even had a chance to make him happy." "Charles was never yours to lose," Camilla shot back, backing away from Diana's approach but maintaining her cruel tone. "He chose me long before he ever met you." That's when Diana lost complete control. Her hand shot out and connected with Camilla's cheek in a slap so hard it echoed through the room like a gunshot. You're not ready for what happened next. The catfight. Diana's slap unleashed something primal in both women as their carefully maintained facades of civilized behavior completely crumbled. Camilla's response to being slapped was immediate and vicious. Her own hand flew up to strike Diana across the face, the sound of flesh hitting flesh sharp and shocking in the elegant drawing room. "You little brat," Camilla snarled, her voice filled with years of resentment. "You think because you're young and pretty you can have whatever you want." Diana's response was to grab Camilla's perfectly styled hair and pull hard enough to make the older woman cry out in pain. "And you think because you spread your legs for my husband you can take my life." What followed was several minutes of the most undignified behavior ever witnessed in a royal setting. Two grown women, one a princess and the other a future queen consort, rolling on the floor of an ancestral manor house, pulling hair, scratching, slapping, and screaming at each other with pure hatred. Diana, younger and more athletic, had the physical advantage, but Camilla fought with the viciousness of someone who had spent years being called a homewrecker, and was finally able to fight back. "You ruined my wedding night," Diana screamed as she tried to pin Camilla to the Persian rug. You made him think of you while he was making love to me." "He never made love to you," Camilla spat back, clawing at Diana's arms. "He performed his duty. With me, he's passionate, alive, real." The fight continued until both women were disheveled, bleeding slightly from scratches, and completely exhausted from the emotional and physical intensity of their confrontation. Don't miss this devastating aftermath, how they covered up the scandal. The cover-up, the aftermath of Diana and Camilla's physical fight required the most sophisticated damage control operation the royal family had ever undertaken. When Charles returned to Highgrove an hour later, he found both women sitting in opposite corners of the drawing room, their clothing torn, their hair disheveled, and their faces showing clear evidence of physical altercation. The crystal fragments from Diana's thrown champagne flute glittered across the floor like evidence of a crime scene, and the tension in the room was so thick it was almost visible. "What the hell happened here?" Charles demanded, looking back and forth between his wife and mistress. "Your wife attacked me," Camilla said coldly, dabbing at a scratch on her cheek with a handkerchief. "Your mistress insulted me," Diana replied with equal venom, her own lips slightly swollen from Camilla's retaliatory slap. Charles realized immediately that this situation could destroy all three of them if it became public. A physical fight between the Princess of Wales and his mistress would be the scandal of the century. The immediate response. Within hours, a team of palace officials descended on Highgrove to manage the crisis. All staff present during the incident were required to sign comprehensive non-disclosure agreements. The drawing room was professionally cleaned, and any damaged items were quietly replaced. Both women were examined by discreet royal physicians and treated for their minor injury. Official schedules were adjusted to ensure Diana and Camilla wouldn't be seen in public until any visible signs of their fight had healed. The official story. The palace released carefully coordinated statements explaining Diana's facial injuries as the result of a minor riding accident and Camilla's scratches as gardening mishaps. Neither woman was allowed to speak publicly about the incident, and both were essentially placed under palace supervision until the immediate crisis passed. You won't believe how this fight changed their relationship forever. The aftermath. The physical confrontation between Diana and Camilla didn't resolve their conflict. It escalated it to levels that would ultimately contribute to the destruction of Charles's relationships with both women. Diana's transformation. The fight marked a turning point for Diana. Having finally released years of suppressed rage, she found herself liberated from the need to maintain the pretense of accepting Camilla's presence in her marriage. "I'm done pretending," Diana told Charles after the incident. "I'm done being polite to your mistress. I'm done accepting humiliation for the sake of appearances." From that point forward, Diana began the process of emotionally divorcing herself from Charles and planning her eventual escape from the royal family. Camilla's realization. For Camilla, the fight was a wake-up call about the intensity of Diana's emotions and her willingness to abandon royal protocol when pushed too far. The woman she had dismissed as a naive young bride had shown herself capable of genuine violence when defending her territory. Camilla realized that Diana was far more dangerous than she had anticipated. Charles's impossible position. Charles found himself caught between two women who now actively hated each other with a passion that made any hope of peaceful coexistence impossible. His attempts to maintain relationships with both had resulted in a situation where he was constantly choosing sides and managing crises rather than enjoying the company of either woman. The truth revealed. The physical fight between Diana and Camilla revealed the depth of hatred that had been festering beneath the surface of their civilized rivalry. Both women had been pushed beyond their breaking points, Diana by years of humiliation and emotional abandonment, Camilla by years of being vilified as a homewrecker, while Charles refused to fully commit to either relationship. The violence of their confrontation proved that the sophisticated, controlled world of royal protocol was a thin veneer covering the same raw human emotions that drive conflicts in any family. Most importantly, the fight marked the beginning of the end for Charles's relationships with both women. Diana's rage had been unleashed and could never be fully contained again, while Camilla had revealed her true contempt for Diana in ways that made future reconciliation impossible. The slap that echoed through Highgrove House was the sound of a marriage finally dying, and a royal scandal that would eventually consume all three participants. Some fights end in reconciliation. Others mark the point of no return. Diana's catfight with Camilla was the moment when private pain became public war, setting the stage for the spectacular destruction of the royal family's carefully maintained image. The woman who had been dismissed as too young and naive had shown she could fight as viciously as any seasoned royal politician and win.